This is the history of money.
World War II left a trail of devastation in its wake. Economies were shattered, currencies were unstable, international trade had ground to a halt. The world needed a new blueprint for economic cooperation, a system that could prevent a return to the chaos of the interwar years. The experience of the Great Depression loomed large. Protectionist policies had exacerbated the crisis. Competitive devaluations had destabilized currencies. The global economy had spiraled downward. Leaders recognized the need for a different approach. They sought to create a system that would promote stability and growth, a system that would foster international trade and investment. The stage was set for a historic gathering. In July 1944, delegates from 44 countries convened in the small town of Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, their mission to rebuild the global economy from the ashes of war. The Bretton Woods Conference was a pivotal moment in economic history. Held in July 1944 as World War II was drawing to a close, it brought together representatives from 44 allied nations. The goal was ambitious: to design a framework for economic cooperation that would prevent future conflicts and foster global prosperity. Delegates gathered with a shared purpose: to create a more stable and prosperous world. They were acutely aware of the economic turmoil that had contributed to the war, and were determined to build a system that would ensure lasting peace and stability. Leading the way were two key figures: John Maynard Keynes of the United Kingdom and Harry Dexter White of the United States. These two men, with their contrasting yet complementary visions, played a crucial role in shaping the conference's outcomes. Keynes, a renowned economist, advocated for a system of managed exchange rates. He believed that governments should have the ability to adjust their currency values to address economic imbalances and promote stability. He envisioned a powerful international clearing union which would act as a global central bank, providing liquidity and facilitating trade between nations. This institution would help prevent the kind of economic crises that had led to the Great Depression. White, a US Treasury official, favored a more limited role for government intervention. He believed that a system based on fixed exchange rates tied to the US dollar would provide the stability needed for economic growth. He proposed a system based on fixed exchange rates tied to the US dollar. This would create a stable environment for international trade and investment, reducing the risk of currency fluctuations. Despite their differences, Keynes and White found common ground. They both recognized the importance of international cooperation and the need for a stable monetary system to support global economic growth. They agreed on the need for international cooperation and a stable monetary system. Their collaboration was a testament to the power of diplomacy and the shared commitment to a better future. Their ideas formed the basis of the Bretton Woods Agreement. This landmark accord established the International Monetary Fund, IMF, and the World Bank, two institutions that would play a central role in the post-war economic order. The agreement established a new international monetary order. It set the stage for unprecedented economic growth and development in the decades that followed. It aimed to prevent the competitive devaluations that had plagued the 1930s. By stabilizing exchange rates, the Bretton Woods system sought to create a more predictable and secure environment for international trade. It sought to promote free trade and capital flows. By reducing barriers to trade and investment, the agreement helped to integrate the global economy and foster economic interdependence. The Bretton Woods system, as it became known, would shape the global economy for decades to come. Its legacy can still be seen today in the institutions and policies that govern international economic relations. The vision of Keynes and White and the cooperation of the delegates at Bretton Woods laid the foundation for a more interconnected and prosperous world. At the heart of the Bretton Woods system lay a fixed exchange rate mechanism, a revolutionary concept at the time. This system was established in 1944 during a conference held in Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, where representatives from 44 allied nations gathered to create a new international monetary order. This system pegged the value of other currencies to the US dollar, which was chosen due to the United States' economic dominance post-World War II. The US dollar became the central currency, acting as a benchmark for other currencies. The US dollar, in turn, was directly convertible to gold at a fixed price of $35 per ounce. This convertibility was crucial as it linked the dollar to a tangible asset, gold, which had been a trusted store of value for centuries. This gold-backed dollar standard provided stability and predictability, which were essential for rebuilding the global economy after the devastation of the war. It ensured that exchange rates remained stable, reducing the risk of currency fluctuations. It fostered confidence in international trade and investment, as businesses and investors could rely on stable exchange rates. This predictability encouraged long-term investments and cross-border trade, which were vital for economic recovery and growth. Businesses could engage in cross-border transactions with reduced currency risk, knowing that the value of currencies would not fluctuate wildly. This stability was particularly beneficial for multinational corporations and international traders. The fixed exchange rate system also imposed discipline on governments, as they had to manage their economies responsibly. They could not engage in reckless monetary policies without risking their currency's value. Countries could not simply print more money to finance their spending, as doing so would devalue their currency and deplete their gold reserves. This constraint forced governments to maintain fiscal discipline and avoid excessive debt. They had to maintain adequate reserves of gold and foreign currencies to support their exchange rates. These reserves acted as a buffer, ensuring that countries could defend their currency's value in times of economic stress. This system, however, was not without its critics. Some economists and policymakers argued that it was too rigid and did not allow for the flexibility needed to respond to economic shocks. Some argued that it gave the United States too much power, as the US could influence global monetary policy through its control of the dollar. This dominance was seen as a form of economic imperialism by some critics. Others worried that it would limit the ability of governments to pursue independent economic policies. They feared that countries would be unable to adjust their monetary policies to suit their unique economic conditions. Nevertheless, the fixed exchange rate system became a cornerstone of the post-war economic order. It laid the foundation for decades of economic growth and stability, helping to create a more interconnected and prosperous world. Pillars of Stability, the IMF and World Bank. In this section, we delve into the origins, roles and impacts of these two pivotal institutions that have shaped the global economic landscape. To oversee the new monetary system, the Bretton Woods Agreement established two key institutions, the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, and the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, better known as the World Bank. This agreement, signed in 1944, was a landmark moment in economic history, aiming to foster international economic cooperation and prevent the economic turmoil that had characterized the interwar period. The IMF's primary role was to ensure the stability of the international monetary system. This involved monitoring exchange rates and financial flows, providing a forum for cooperation on international monetary problems, and offering policy advice to its member countries. It provided short-term loans to countries facing balance of payments difficulties. These loans were crucial for countries experiencing temporary financial crises, helping them to stabilize their economies without resorting to drastic measures. These loans helped countries maintain their fixed exchange rates and avoid resorting to disruptive devaluations. By doing so, the IMF played a key role in promoting global economic stability and preventing the kind of competitive devaluations that had contributed to the Great Depression. The World Bank, on the other hand, focused on long-term economic development. Its mission was to reduce poverty by providing loans and grants for projects that could improve the economic prospects and quality of life for people in developing countries. It provided loans and grants to developing countries for infrastructure projects, such as roads, dams, and power plants. These projects were designed to lay the foundation for sustainable economic growth by improving access to essential services and fostering a more conducive environment for business and trade. The goal was to help these countries rebuild and modernize their economies. In the aftermath of World War II, many countries were left with devastated infrastructure and economies in disarray. The World Bank's support was instrumental in helping these nations recover and embark on a path of modernization and development. Together, the IMF and World Bank played a crucial role in the post-war economic recovery. Their combined efforts provided a comprehensive approach to addressing both immediate financial crises and long-term development needs. They provided much-needed financial assistance and technical expertise. This included not only funding, but also sharing knowledge and best practices to help countries implement effective economic policies and reforms. They helped to create a more stable and prosperous global economy. By fostering international cooperation and supporting economic development, the IMF and World Bank have contributed to a more interconnected and resilient world economy, laying the groundwork for the unprecedented growth and prosperity seen in the latter half of the 20th century and beyond. Section 5. A Golden Age of Trade. The US dollar takes center stage. The Bretton Woods System ushered in an era of unprecedented economic growth and expansion in international trade. The stability provided by the fixed exchange rate system fostered confidence and encouraged cross-border investment. The US dollar emerged as the world's leading reserve currency. Central banks around the world held large reserves of US dollars to support their own currencies. The dollar became the primary currency for international transactions, solidifying America's economic dominance. This period, often referred to as the Golden Age of capitalism, saw rapid growth in global trade. Countries benefited from increased specialization and access to larger markets. Living standards rose in many parts of the world. The Bretton Woods System, however, was not without its challenges. As the global economy evolved, so too did the strains on the system. These challenges would eventually lead to its demise.